Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of voice of radio. So today, we need to talk about Boltund V, and we need to talk about why, even though they haven't shown it to us yet, and some people have told me I was wrong with my prediction, and they had good reasons to do so, we'll get to that in a moment, I am now more convinced than ever that we are definitely getting a Boltund VMAX, which is pretty gosh darned awesome. So over on the official YouTube channel here this week, they went and revealed Boltund V. And they didn't reveal Boltund VMAX. Now, as a general rule, they tend to reveal the Vs and VMAXs together. And when they reveal a Pokémon V, if they don't reveal the VMAX, there usually isn't a VMAX coming along with it. That's the general rule. Again, we'll get to in a minute why I think it's wrong at this particular instance, but that's the general rule. If they don't give you a Pokemon VMAX at a time, there generally isn't a Pokemon VMAX. Well, that's not going to be the case here, ladies and gentlemen. That is not going to be the case. So first, we're going to take a little bit of a look at this Boltund, what it does, how good it is, etc. And then we're going to have a nice little discussion about why we definitely are getting a Boltund VMAX, even though we haven't seen it yet. And even though there are reasons why people reasonably believe it's not coming, it definitely is. So Boltund V then, our translation I should mention comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet. We are big fans of the lovely Antoine Boulet, which is why you hear that name so often in these videos. So what we've got here in terms of the basics is 200 HP, which is kind of middling for a Pokemon V. It's not particularly great. Retreat cost of 1, which is kind of low. Weakness to fighting, which is kind of terrible. Because if nothing else, we've got Galarian Zapdos nowadays. And Galarian Zapdos is such a good counter for basically any fighting weak Pokemon that you should all be a little bit worried. And you are a lightning Pokemon, which means you're hitting weakness on stuff like Inteleon, which might be irrelevant, you never know. Could be fun. But what we've got here is single energy, and you do 30 damage, and you may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench. So it's a hit and run attack. But 30 damage is not very high, if I'm honest with you. And we've lost things like Lily's Pokédoll, which are the best things to use as walls, because with a hit and run you want to hit, run to the bench, pop up a wall, and then go from there. Well, that is unfortunately not really an option, because you don't have something like Lily's Pokédoll. To put it bluntly, we don't really have good walls at the moment. So, you're only doing 30 damage. We don't have a bunch of good walls. I don't wish to be rude, but I'm not entirely sure that this is a particularly good attack. Certainly, as I'm looking at it now, I find it difficult to make an argument that people are going to be using a hit and run deck nowadays. And even if they do, I'm not sure this makes the cut. But it's alright, we got a second one, haven't we? 2 lightning, 1 colorless, 120 damage. Plus 30 to one of your opponent's bench. Oh. Yeah, no. Like, not only do I not like that attack, it's not just that I don't like this attack on Boltund, it's that we have non-Boltund V that have way better attacks than this. You know, we could look at one of the Boltund from Sword and Shield, free energy, 180 to a Pokemon V, or the other one, free energy, flat 160, and it's actually got free retreat to boot. So if I'm putting free energy on a Boltund, this is my 4th choice. We've also got the other Boltund V. We'll get to that one in a moment. So basically, this is my 4th choice of Boltund. It's not good. It's really not. I mean, if we put it side by side with the other Boltund V, you've got that really amazing first attack that searches for 2 lightning energy and attaches to your bench Pokemon in any way you like, which has seen a bunch of play, and then Bolt Storm, 2 energy, 10 damage, plus 30 more for each lightning energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So that can add up very quickly, and because it's energy attached to all of your Pokemon, when Boltund goes down you lose 2 energy, but you don't lose all the rest of the energy, and you can bring up a new one and keep going, and it's a really good Pokemon, alright? Boltund is really good. There was briefly a speed Boltund deck that you could make that wasn't great, but man, it was fun and aggressive. So basically, this is not a great Boltund V. And honestly, that is one of my arguments for why I am convinced we are getting a Boltund VMAX. Because they did this with Victini. Victini came around in Sword and Shield. And Victini was alright. It wasn't an amazing Pokemon by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a decent Pokemon. It was a nice little tech. It could deal decent damage. It was a good Pokemon. And then in Battle Styles, they brought us Victini VMAX, which is really good, incidentally, and that is one that should see a bunch of play, has seen a bunch of play, is really cool. But the new Victini they brought along with it is just rubbish. Like, seriously, the Victini V from Battle Styles is not good. It is significantly worse than the original. But obviously, it's really weird to bring in a VMAX of a Pokemon that had a V several sets previously. So they brought in a new Victini V, but it was a lot worse than the old one, just so they could have it. And that really seems to be what's happening here. They've essentially brought in a new Boltund just so they can have a V, but make no mistake about it, it's not particularly good. Incidentally, they did the exact same thing with Sandaconda. Back in Rebel Clash, we had a decent Sandaconda that could deal 220 and was pretty good. And then they brought Sandaconda back with a VMAX in Chilling Reign, but the second Sandaconda was just not as good as a Sandaconda from Rebel Clash. So they're doing it again. They're bringing in a VMAX for a Pokemon they've already had, and then they're bringing in a new Pokemon V at the same time, but they're kind of going, right, well, you get the new Pokemon V, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's a lot worse than the previous one. So at least until the next rotation, there is no way we're going to be using this new Boltund V. We are going to be using the old Boltund V. But is that really a good enough argument? Is it really enough to say, hey, we've already had a Boltund V, this new one's bad, we've got to be getting a VMAX? Honestly, that's pretty much enough to convince me. But don't worry, we have more. Now, over on the pack art for Fusion Strike, we do see Boltund. And they've never done, with one exception, but it was an amazing rare, so it totally counts. When you have this pack art, it is Pokemon V. So I just suggested, well, that means we're getting a VMAX as well. Now, some people have gone, hang on a second, Wassy. You will notice, if you look at, say, the Gengar pack art from the same set, you can see that we've got those Dynamax clouds to show that it is VMAX Gengar. Whereas if you look on Boltund, we don't see those clouds. That means it's not getting a VMAX. That is one of the arguments I heard from people, and though it sounds sensible, it's actually not a good argument. Because look at Sylveon on Evolving Skies. Look at Umbreon on Evolving Skies. They do not look like the Dynamax versions. There are some weird little pink things kind of flying around, but they don't look like the clouds. And these do not really look like giant Pokemon, especially the Umbreon. So I'm honestly not buying it. I don't think these are the Gigantamax versions. So as much, and that was the main counter argument I heard from people, and it's a sensible one, but I'm honestly not buying it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it's a thing. But honestly, we've seen Toxil. And it kind of is as simple as that, to be honest with you. Because if we look at the Japanese numbering, we can see that this Boltund V is card number 34 out of 100. And then we've already seen a Toxil. This is a confirmed card that we've already seen. That is number 36 out of 100. Now, it's worth pointing out at this stage that with the way the cards are numbered nowadays, it goes in type order and in Pokedex order. So between Boltund and Toxil, there are literally only two options. It is either a second Toxil, which I'm sorry, I really don't think is a thing. Japanese sets don't tend to double up on basic Pokemon. We do sometimes, but that's because we are essentially filling in, because we've had, two different Japanese releases, each of which had the same basic, and we're having to catch up. So that's why we do. Japan very, very rarely does. So it's going to be Boltund VMAX, right? So that's what you should be getting excited about. This Boltund V is not good. It is way worse than one from Rebel Clash. I honestly think it's worse than both of the non-V that came in Sword and Shield. But because we've seen how bad this V is, and because we can look at the set number, it's pretty much guaranteed we're getting a V Max. I also heard from Antoine that in the reveal of Boltund V, the hosts were basically, joking about, wouldn't it be cool if we got a V Max? Really hinting that there's going to be a V Max. So I can't tell you we're definitely getting one, but I'm saying at this stage there's like a 98% chance that we are getting a Boltund V Max. Don't love this new one, but the V Max is coming, so hold your horses, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why they revealed the V without the V Max. That is generally not the way they do things, but I'm excited to see the V Max, and I rather suspect you should be too. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this new Boltund V, and I want your predictions for the V Max, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.